Welcome to my history podcast. Welcome guys to my history podcast. You probably can tell by the title or by the thumbnail or something that this video was inspired by JP 2025. If you don't know what JP 2025 is, you're probably living under a rock, or maybe you're not African, I don't know. But JP 2025 is the wedding that happened between Juma Jux and Priscilla Ojo, and it was a really beautiful wedding with I think 8 different ceremonies, and it was big and beautiful and extravagant. And Priscilla Ojo is Nigerian and Juma Jux is from Tanzania. So this video is about his hometown, Tanzania. So background history of Tanzania. Tanzania is bordered by Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Mozambique, Malawi, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It has an Indian Ocean coastline to its east, and Tanzania covers an area of 947,303 kilometers square, and it's bigger than Texas, and Texas is the second biggest state in the United States, and their currency is the East African shilling. Tanzania is one of the oldest continuously inhabited areas on earth, and many hominid fossils, as in like fossils from the great apes, right, have been found in Tanzania. And a 1.8 million year old stone chopping tool was discovered at the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. And that gorge, like the Olduvai Gorge, has been designated by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. And it features, like, not just that, that's not the only thing that has been found there, but like that place features so many ancient tools that document like the progression of human use of technology. Okay. The official languages are Swahili and English, but Tanzania is home to over 100 languages. Their motto is freedom and unity. They currently have the first female president ever in their country. Her name is Samia Suluhu Hassan, and she has been in power since 2021. They serve presidential terms of 5 years, and you can serve up to 2 terms. She became president because she was the vice president, and then the president died, so she's currently the president. And another interesting thing is, I personally, I don't know, maybe you guys were better than me, but personally I thought Kilimanjaro was in South Africa, because I don't know, like when I think of Kilimanjaro, I think of Amapiano. So like I always used to think Kilimanjaro was in South Africa, but it's not in South Africa. Mountain Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania, and Mountain Kilimanjaro is the highest mountain in Africa, and is the highest freestanding mountain in the world. That means that it's the highest, like is the highest mountain that's only a mountain. I don't know how to explain it. Like the other places, like for example the Himalayan mountains, right? That's where like the tallest mountain in the world is. It's like a group of mountains, and then within the group of mountains there's one that's like the tallest, and that's the tallest in the world. But Mount Kilimanjaro is like a mountain on its own. There are no other smaller mountains around it, and it's the highest mountain on its own in the world. 3 of the African Great Lakes are partly in Tanzania. That is Lake Victoria, Lake Malawi, and Lake Tanganyika. So now we're done with like the backup history, we're done with like the background stuff. Now we're going to go into like what we're actually talking about today. So something that you probably did not know is that Tanzania was actually initially made up of 2 states, Tanganyika and Zanzibar. And Tanganyika is like more mainland, and Zanzibar is like, it's an archipelago of islands that's like just off the shore of Tanganyika. So initially there were 2 separate states. They were colonized as 2 different states, right? And then we're gonna talk about how they came together. The name Tanganyika is derived from Swahili words Tanga, which means sail, and Nika, which means uninhabited plain or wilderness, creating the phrase sail in the wilderness. It is sometimes like interpreted as a reference to Lake Tanganyika, because Lake Tanganyika, one of the African Great Lakes, is in Tanganyika. So they're thinking like maybe they named it that, maybe they named it sail in the wilderness because Lake Tanganyika is there, right? And the name Zanzibar derives from Zang. This was the name of the local people, which is said to refer to as black. And the Arabic word bar, which means coast or shore. So I guess it means like black people on the coast. There was a country in the Middle East called Oman, and back then this country had laid claim to Zanzibar. So the Sultan of Oman, the Omani Sultan, if you will, was like basically the ruler of the archipelago Zanzibar, even though they were black people. In 1840, Sultan Said bin Sultan moved his capital to Zanzibar city, and during this time, Zanzibar became the center for East African slave trade. In 1885, Germany conquered the regions that are now Tanzania, excluding Zanzibar, and incorporated them into German East Africa. But the people that studied IG history, if you studied IG history, you know, or if you studied like world history, yeah, anybody that studied world history actually should know this. But after World War I, Germany lost control over their colonies, right? And then like it was split up. So after World War I, German East Africa was given to Britain, but there was like much talk. So eventually the regions of Rwanda and Burundi were given to Belgium, and the Kionga Triangle was made a part of Portuguese Mozambique. So that's what happened. On 9th December 1962, Tanganyika became a democratic republic. That means they gained independence. President Julius Nyerere was named president of Tanganyika. In Zanzibar the next year, on 10th December 1963, the British released control over Zanzibar, and it became a constitutional monarchy within the Commonwealth under a sultan, as in like a sultan from the Middle East. And I think it's so interesting because Tanganyika gained independence on 9th December 1962, and Zanzibar gained independence on 10th December 1963. I feel like, you know, that's just a cute little something, right? But it became a monarchy, so that means that Zanzibar gained independence, but in their independence they were ruled by a sultan. And remember I told you 1840 Zanzibar was ruled by a country in the Middle East called Oman, and it was ruled by a sultan from Oman, right? So even though they gained independence, there was still a lot of Arab influence in Zanzibar, even though majority was black. Just a month after Zanzibar gained independence, the majority black population overthrew the mainly Arab government, and Abeid Karume was named the country's new president. However, on 26th April 1964, the Republic of Zanzibar merged with Tanganyika. Both President Karume of Zanzibar and President Nyerere of Tanganyika were concerned that Zanzibar was starting to become a hotspot of Cold War tensions. And at this point in time, both the presidents of Tanganyika and the presidents of Zanzibar were becoming worried, and they felt like Zanzibar was the next, not target's not the right word, but it was the next area of concern for both the USA and Russia. Like it was the next place the place that both the USA and Russia had their eyes on, you know. And they felt like American and British diplomats were at loggerheads, and there was like much tension between them and the Chinese and East German diplomats. So they believed that a union or a merge with the non-aligned Tanganyika, or the unbiased or the impartial Tanganyika, would help to remove Zanzibar from the spotlight and would help to remove eyes from Zanzibar. Many of Karume's socialist policies on health, education, and social welfare were adopted by the merged government. I feel like maybe I'm not like really explaining this well. I hope you guys understand. But then, okay, so let's go back to the independence of Zanzibar. So Zanzibar becomes independent and is ruled by a monarchy. It has like a predominantly Arab government, even though the population is mostly black, and the predominantly black population is like, we don't want people that don't represent us. Like we want representation essentially, so they fight for it, and then they become in charge of the country. And when they become in charge of the country, they have their system of government is leaning it's leaning towards socialism. It's leaning towards socialism. Now neither the USA or Russia is socialist, right? So the USA is more of democratic government, and then Russia is more of communism, right? So it's like this is a new nation that has formed. And also at the time, both countries are competing for world domination, right? At the time, both countries are competing for world domination. So America or the USA is trying to get like as many countries that can be democratic, right? As many countries that can be democratic. Like they're trying to get all the countries to be democratic, and then Russia is also trying to get all the countries to be communist. So once a new country forms, it's like, okay, what's it gonna be? Do you understand? It's like once they see that a new country is formed, okay, what's it gonna be? And then both of them come rushing in, and it's like we're trying to pull you. So America is trying to pull you to democracy, and then Russia is trying to pull you to communism, and it's like, which one are you gonna choose, right? And essentially Zanzibar didn't want to be a part of that kind of game. They wanted to have their own independence and be truly independent, right? So they decided to merge with Tanganyika because Tanganyika had managed to establish itself as non-aligned and receiving help and aid from both parties, and just existing. So yeah, I feel like hopefully that kind of like explains why they would feel the need to combine the two countries. But anyway, many of Karume's socialist policies on health, education, and social welfare were adopted by the joint government. And also, the unification of Tanganyika and Zanzibar followed Nyere's principle of Ujamaa, which means fraternity, and which entailed a strong territorial nationalism. Yeah, so this happened in 1964, and at the time they were called the United Republic of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, with Julius Nyerere as the president. The name Tanzania came about because there was a contest in the national newspaper to find a new name for the country. It was in the national newspaper at the Standard, right? And Mohammed Dar Iqbal won the competition. He won the contest. He won the naming competition, right? And he formulated the name Tanzania, and he claims that he took Tan from Tanganyika and Zan from Zanzibar, and then he took I or E from his own name and added A as a reference to Ahmadiyya, a Muslim movement, right? And then he came up with the name Tanzania. I think that that's so beautiful, and that's also very funny. Like, what in the world? Like, imagine naming a country because of a naming contest in the newspaper. That's just so random. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed and had fun like shooting this video. I hope it actually recorded. It looks like it's recording. I don't know. But I'll see you guys later. Bye.